I met this artist in Beijing who is here opening his latest exhibition. And he's saying that, we Chinese, we are seeing the world a bit differently than you Westerners. You tend to see it as a big machinery, while we see it more as a dynamics of energy. Now, I am more and more leaning towards that way of looking at things, because it's really what it is. For instance, if I take a walk or exercise, the muscles I use, they become stronger, and even the bones become stronger when I walk. And one can describe this in terms of atoms and molecules and carbon and oxygen and all of that. Little particles, as we Westerners like to think of it as. But if you would look at it more in terms of energy, chi, and as I say in China, or prana, like they say in India, living energy, then I guess you would simply see it that way, that yes, here these muscles are working often, meaning they need energy, they need power, they need strength. So then that energy, that prana or chi, is going there, mobilizing there to provide for the work that needs to be done. So the body would be a kind of a self-regulating energy structure that adapts to what we want to use it for. And you can think of it like that, simply as a dynamic of energy. And of course, someone schooled and trained in the Western way of looking at it would start to get a little uncomfortable that, energy, we know so much more now, we Westerners. We know there are these muscle cells built up by proteins, molecules, this and that. They're giving a chemical explanation or description of what's going on. Again, thinking of chemicals as little particles. But if we go a bit deeper, even into the Western science, then it doesn't stop there. What we call chemicals, atoms and molecules, are simply dynamics of energy. And whether that energy would act in such a way that it appears as particles or as waves, well, it's still an energy in action. Which means you can describe it whatever way you prefer, the Eastern way or the Western way. But I think, the Eastern way of dynamics of energy is probably going deeper and giving a more accurate, or at least a richer understanding of what is really going on. Well, someone would think, what do I care about that? Well, by at least understanding these two ways of looking at it, it would be also easier to understand the Eastern way of looking at the world and our body and our minds. And for instance, the different approach that they have to health, medicine, and so on, where they understand herbs in that way, by their energy and how they will affect the energy in our bodies. And there you have that understanding also of the elements, sometimes a more fiery energy, sometimes some calmer, watery and cooling energy, sometimes more airy, drying energy, and so on. You find it there in India, ether, space, air, fire, water and earth. We have them in the West too, and in China a little bit differently, and the doshas and all that. Just different categorizations and names, but basically that, in principle, pretty much similar. In any case, I think it's good for us people to learn to see and understand things from other perspectives, the way other cultures, other people look at it. And if we don't understand, then we tend to just look down upon others. I know better. But really, and it's my experience at least, that if you then step down a bit, take a humble position and listen carefully, trying to understand, trying to learn, then we often realize things. Wow, never thought about that one, and this is how they mean. Wow. So hard it is sometimes for us to understand each other, and how useful it is, therefore, to just sit down and listen. Those who talk, they sow, and those who listen, they reap, as they say.